However, I'll speak on from a point of trade. What the ministry does currently is that it works in collaboration with other stakeholders such as the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as the Ministry of Finance, mostly the side of customs, NAMRA that is, to control the importation of poultry and poultry products into the country, as it has been indicated by the government gazette number 7132, that limits the importation of poultry products into the country to a total of 1,200 metric tons per month. Now, this has been done in order to enable local poultry producers the space to produce and supply the domestic market, as well as for those ones that are able to then export to do so. So the limitation to the imports then enables the space to SMEs in the production of poultry in the country to then produce.
Okay. The next question actually goes to both ministries. I believe each can share in answering this because we feel that it's interministerially related. How do we have, organizations or individuals who are producing scientifically approved poultry feeds in the country? If yes, how affordable and accessible are these feeds to our local farmers? If no, what measures, if any, are in place to encourage Namibians to produce chicken feeds locally in order to reduce the dependency on imports, whether it's from neighboring countries or further afield, and also possibly provide a job creation avenue?
Yes, we do have, but I think in Namibia we only have one that is commonly known as Feedmaster. That is the one that produces scientifically proven feeds. Although we have pockets of local producers that are coming up with initiatives to produce their own feed. However, there's always a caution to say that if you want to produce your own locally scientifically feed, we have a Department of Agri Input in Ministry of Agriculture that regulates on procedures and protocols that needed to be followed for you to register your feed. And in order for you to register your feed, or for your feed to be registered, it has to go through analysis and through tests, so that eventually when it's produced outside and registered, it's safe for animal consumption, and it is safe for the nutrient value that is in the feed. Is it safe for human for livestock? But what we normally do is, under our ministry, we always request for results of the analysis to say that it should come from the accredited laboratory. Yes, so there are smallholders or people that wants to come into the industry, but mostly it's just Feedmaster. And also, there are also retailers that are importing feed from South Africa, but then those are already scientifically proven in South Africa. Okay. So they just imported here.
Okay. Ms. Shimi, Mr. Theamo now indicated that we basically only have one producer of scientifically approved feed. Has this kind of affected the pricing locally, seeing that we only have one? Is the price fair enough for local competitors, those that are coming up, that are trying to get into this market, to actually compete with Feedmaster? Because I believe that's what Mr. Theamo now stated, that it's only Feedmaster that we have thus far. And what is the measures that are being put in place from the Ministry of Trade's side to try and create that balance for them?
Um, yes, it is more or less, one could say it is a given in a situation where there's only one producer, that it might really border on issues relating to competition and in terms of prices and regulating the price. However, insofar the feed production in Namibia has not been that significant to a level where it requires the intervention of the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade as yet. Of course, which also then covers the Competition Commission as well as the Institution for Standards, the NSI. So at this point in time, one can't really make that distinction as there is only one producer, and at this point in time, the price might not be able to be gauged against anything else apart from international producers. So up until where other local producers come up, regulations on pricing then will come in.
Okay.
Yes.
As we stated, we do have Mr. Andreke Shihweda on our lines, and he is a local poultry farmer as well as a VET trainer for farm machinery. He's based in the Zambezi region. Thank you very much, Mr. Shihweda, for being with us. Welcome to our show for the afternoon.
All right, thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah. Mr. Shihweda, starting off with you, we would like to know, seeing that at some point the local media did report that poultry farmers were facing challenges, and this was mainly regarding chicken feeds as well as the unavailability of market. How are you managing with the production of poultry, taking these aforementioned challenges into consideration?
Okay, of course, with the feed price being increasing over and over, it becomes a very challenging situation and has made also a very big impact on the poultry farming, and it becomes difficult, challenging as poultry farm. So with this poultry farm, although the food price or the feed price are increasing, doesn't stop someone to go or to keep on going with the farming. As much as someone wants to keep farm or to keep going with their farming, the feed price increase here and there. So what I did in the past, I used to have two types of chickens, the layers and the dwarf peppers, mostly that I use for producing fertile eggs for incubation. So when the price of feed increased, what I challenge I got is I can't afford to buy a lot of beds like in the past, and I decided to cut off some of my breeding. Then I check the balance between the layers and the dwarf peppers, which one is giving me better. Then I decide to remove all the dwarf peppers, then I continue with the layers that is I'm currently farming with for egg production.
Oh.
So with this, only not reduce my income, but also my customers that I used to supply for better eggs, they're also gone. And now, it's also one thing that also farmers experience when you are managing a large stock of poultry or chicken. You need to spend more on feed. So therefore, it's necessary just to keep the stock that one can be affordable, taking into consideration of the feed. When to come to the market, we are experiencing actually lack of customers, but for me, I can say I'm a bit lucky because I farm in a communal whereby the area is surrounded by schools, and I'm also nearby the town, which is Omosia town where I'm coming from. And since the town is developing, I'm somehow getting customers or people that are becoming to settle in Omosia, and I provide them with the eggs.
Okay. So somehow you have, or you are maneuvering the challenges and trying to find your way through them, but you do agree that they are taxing.
Yes, somehow I'm maneuvering through reducing my stock and also through taking advantage of the developing of my town, which is bringing in more people from to come settle in the town.
Yeah. Coming back to Ms. Shimi here in the studio, we want to know that the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade is responsible for the development, and management of Namibia's economic regulatory administration, on the basis of which the country's domestic and external economic relations are conducted. What is the ministry and other key strategic stakeholders doing to make sure that products of the local farmers penetrate the local supermarkets?
Thank you once again for the question. As mentioned before, the main, I would say, challenge to local production is imports. And what the ministry makes sure of is to control the importation of poultry products in the country. Like I have mentioned before, there is a gazette that is being monitored and then controlled through the ministry together with other stakeholders, like, for example, Ministry of Finance, that are at the borders to regulate the import. In so doing, then the aim is really to provide the space to local producers to not just produce to supply the domestic market, but also be able to produce to supply regionally, and now with the African Free Trade Continental Area, perhaps go global. Another thing that the ministry is looking at, together with other stakeholders as well, is the standards for production. The industry did not have that, and it made it a challenge for producers to then supply the domestic market, especially the retailers, not even to talk about supplying regionally and internationally, because then if there's no standards, those products cannot be sold as such. So the ministry is currently working on that, the development of standards for poultry production in Namibia and beyond the borders of Namibia, starting off regionally within the SADC borders. But of course, if we go with the SADC borders, we have to align it to the standards of SADC in terms of agriculture. Yes.
Okay. Well put. Mr. Shikweda, we come back to you on that particular topic as well. We want to find out through or from your experience with regards to trying to access the market, especially around the areas that you operate from. Can you shed light on that? How and where are you currently selling your chickens? Not necessarily just to the man on the street. Have you tried approaching supermarkets, and how has that particular approach been?
When it comes to accessing the market, it's quite a process. And however, it's a farmer will be patient, and sometimes at the same time we need to focus on what you want to achieve. So things one is to register in a registered business, or to be a registered producer with a Nigerian agronomic board, to supply or as a supplier for the local market. It's still although I'm still in the process of doing it. So far, apart from operating from home, I got some approach through a friend that shops or retailer like parties. I said I'm based on here, and we don't have a lot of repairers that are labor. Somehow we are approached by part of here to if we can able to provide them with this stable info. But because of the capacity that we don't have, that is able to supply the shop with at least 10 box of eggs every day, I find it difficult, which is due to I cannot increase my stock because the more I acquire more chicken, I need to buy more eggs.
Yeah.
And in the price of eggs is expensive, it limits me to increase my productivity.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's like it's a ripple effect from one challenge that is causing a disadvantage in another area, based on what Mr. Shikweda is saying. Our lines are currently not opened, but you can definitely reach us through our social media platform, through which we are currently live streaming. On Facebook, you can find us on Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That is Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That's on Facebook. You can also find us on the YouTube platform, and our handle there is MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. That is on YouTube. Please, you are welcome to ask any questions that you have that you need to pose or you want to pose to the panelists in the studio, or even give us comments on the particular industry that we are speaking on this afternoon. And if you are also a poultry farmer and you would like to put or air your views and experiences, you are welcome to do so. Getting back to the studio panelists while we wait for your comments. Mr. Thiemo, statistically, since the inception of the poultry value chain development schemes, I believe in 2021, how many farmers have benefited countrywide?
Since the inception of the scheme, I think we had a positive impact into benefiting our small-scale producers. We are looking at around 2,000 farmers that have benefited so far. And looking at the projection, the way small-scale producers are approaching our office and the interest into the poultry industry, we are anticipating, of course, with more awareness creation, we are anticipating that this number could increase significantly. Yeah.
Okay. Staying with you, Mr. Shikweda, we would like to know, how often does the ministry offer training to these local farmers in order to maximize their produces, especially if you're trying to do so on an affordable scale? Pardon me, it's Mr. Thiemo, sorry. Pardon me, that question was actually supposed to go to Mr. Thiemo with the ministry.
Yeah, no, capacity building is all the programs that we have developed. We always include capacity building. So it's our core mandate. So we set up training programs for our producers, those that have benefited from our programs, and then we also, based on needs, there are farmers out there that send us their needs, and then we react towards that. Of course, not to mention that we also have stakeholders that assist us in executing the capacity building aspects. For instance, we work closely together mostly with Agribank, where sometimes we go out together there and we assist farmers, or we capacitate them, we give them trainings that are related to poultry production.
Okay, okay. Mr. Shikweda, I'm mixing these names up. It's as if I wanted to welcome you in the studio. Now you're not here. Mr. Shikweda, are you still with us?
Yes.
Coming to you now, amongst others, the current subsidies and schemes and developmental programs with regard to the poultry industry, they're being put in place to try and also assist in the creation of employment or create employment opportunities. From your experiences, have you been able to employ others, and how many are employed with you if you have been able to do so?
Well, from my side, since I'm still an energy farmer, I didn't go really up to the stage of employing anyone. But currently, what I did, I give a short training to my sisters at home, that how to look after chickens or how to farm with poultry and give them advice here and there on the phone courses. I stayed a bit far from home where I'm farming. And they actually consulted me out with actually what she's saying. Because not like I employed her, because I'm not paying her any salary, but I'm helping her in other way around. That's it. But actually she's very fine for what I have seen so far. Because she's really helping and gaining also for herself to gain experience on farming.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just a family, my cousins and my nephews that are helping me out with the delivery of eggs to customers, the management wise of a chicken and others.
Okay. Mr.
But
Thiem?
if I have opportunity to grow, I believe I will let us go.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Thiemo actually mentioned that they do a lot of capacity training during the processes and implementation of many of these programs and schemes. Did you receive any training, Mr. Shikweda?
Thank you.
Did you receive any training with regards to poultry husbandry?
Yes, I received training. In the past, I used to work under the Ministry of Agriculture, where I was based at Machare, where we was chicken. It's where I did most of my experience of chicken farming.
Okay.
That's why when I end up falling now with chicken, try to follow and see how people, more farmers are now focus or they are more able on poultry farming.
Okay. Okay. Coming back to Mr. Thiemo, what procedures should a poultry farmer follow in order to benefit from the Poultry Value Chain Development Scheme?
The procedures that the farmers should follow, definitely to meet the criteria. So
what are those criteria?
Of course, you need to be a Namibian.
Okay.
You should be an existing poultry producers, because we don't want, this program is not tailor-made for beginners, to say. So we need those people that are already in the industry, so that they should have ownership of whatever inputs that they are putting in. Even if we are giving them the subsidy, they should have the sense of ownership to say that, okay, we contributed. The enterprise will just not go in vain.
Yeah.
So, so we should say that they should be Namibians, they should be already in the industry, and then they should be able to go to our ADCs, because this is decentralized, it's countrywide. So they should go contact to our nearest agricultural offices or development centers in their constituencies. And then they get registered. We do inspections to see what do they have already on the ground. Thereof, we advise what they need to benefit from the scheme. And then thereafter, we ask them to go get the quotations of the inputs that they need.
Okay.
They bring our the quotations to our office, we calculate for them their contribution, and then the government pays the subsidy to the supplier.
Okay. You spoke about them needing to be already established, if we can call it that. They need to already exist in the industry. What is the timeline? What is the cut-off? Do they, let's say, for example, if I've been a poultry farmer for a year, do I still qualify?
Yes, you can be a poultry farmer for a year, but maybe the intensity that you have the input that you have, or the energy that you have put in already qualifies. You probably could already have more than 20 chickens. So that makes you already a poultry producer.
Okay.
So yeah, the cutoff line is to say there are some categories that we look at. For instance, under the subsidy, there is a category for breeders. We just say if you have more than 100 layers, so we will say, okay, you are already established, you are no more falling now under the category or the target group that we are trying to empower.
Yeah.
So, but mostly we just look at if you have something on the ground and it's sufficient enough and you need to be capacitated or empowered, so you qualify for the
So if
the
I
scheme.
understand correctly, are we saying that it's not necessarily the time frame, but it's capacity with regards to output?
No,
As in, what do you have on the ground? Let's say, for example, I've got 20 layers. Okay.
so then we'll indicate to you, okay, probably you need to add more on your layer production for you to be profitable.
Okay.
So probably you need to buy more stock, which we can also subsidize for you. And also, then we'll just look at what you have on the ground, basically.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be so big
Okay.
to say that, okay, it will not even have an impact. Even if you benefit from the subsidy that we are giving, you will not feel the impact.
Okay.
We are targeting those ones that at least they should feel the change.
Okay.
To say that even if we give them housing materials, feeds, vaccines,
Yeah.
they should be change.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. As we said, you're welcome to add your voice. You can give us your experiences. We are very much open to those. You never know, something that you have gone through, something that you are doing on your farm through your project might actually benefit somebody else. So please do engage us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, you can find us on Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That is on Facebook. Our YouTube handle is MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. Ms. Shimi, what frameworks are in place directed at assisting the growth of poultry farmers in Namibia?
Thank you for the question once again. Yeah, within the ministry, we do have the growth at home strategy that remains focused on protecting policy space, as has been allowed by our constitution as well as international agreements that makes provision for countries to then provide support to infant industry, such as our poultry. Our poultry industry has been around for some time, but we still consider it to be in its infant stages. And as such, then we have those mechanisms in place to try and assist. So in that regard, what then happens is measures are then deployed when necessary, such as, for example, we talk about quantity restrictions, such as the quota that we have in place. We look at tariffs, we also look at incentives, and any other domestic measures that can be applied to assist the industries really to grow. So on the side of the ministry, it really looks at trade-related measures that can assist the industry to grow. And those are the ones that we have in place. The Department of International Trade also has subdivisions that concentrates on market research, product development, as well as export market, with the aim of trying to assist local producers to access international markets. So they do research, they try to assist in terms of the produce, local produce, and how to penetrate international markets, for example. So there are quite a number of activities that are taking place under the ministry that are channeled towards assisting local producers. I think the challenge normally remains that the public is not well aware, or they do not know where exactly to go. And this is exactly why we are here. And today, most of them who are viewing in now knows that what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing and what the Ministry of Industrialization is doing, and which ministry is actually responsible for what. So when it comes to the production itself of poultry, talk about feed, it really is lying a lot more under the Ministry of Agriculture in terms of support, training, and so on. And when it comes to the Ministry of Industrialization, we make sure that we protect, we create the space for the local producers to come up and produce. And this is where we're talking about creation or development of the standards, because these are all mechanisms that we're putting in place to assist our industries to grow, or our poultry industry to grow in this case. Yeah, it is good that the public knows where to find the relevant information that they need, and they are more than welcome to approach us. Within the ministries, there are those that I have mentioned. In terms of those that are producing, looking at your product, you want to penetrate the local market, or what is it that you need to put in place? How do you package your product? And how do you then take it to the market? The unfortunate thing has been the lack of standards. But we are working towards that. And once we have that, we are expecting to see more locally produced poultry products in the retail shops. And hopefully we can really pride ourselves on, let's say, for example, the one main producer, who is NPI. They have the capacity, that is now the financial capacity, to be able to meet the international standards. And at this point in time, they are working towards exporting poultry products, Namibian poultry produce, to international market. And that is exactly what we want for the rest of the SMEs, as well as the middle level producers, or middle scale producers as well. So yes, the ministries or the stakeholders are working towards ensuring that we support and provide the space that is required for our industry to grow.
Okay. Mr. Shihweda, we are referring to subsidies, projects, programs, schemes, and so on. Now we would like to pose this question to you specifically as a poultry farmer. How often do you get assistance or subsidies for your poultry production from the ministry?
So far, I didn't receive any subsidy assistance, but I applied. I'm still waiting from the response from the ministry. I submitted all my documents that required one to benefit. And I'm just waiting for a response whether they approve it and able to help me with what I requested.
Okay, when did you submit these documents and application?
I did it in the middle of last month, that was April.
Okay, so that's a relatively new submission.
Yes.
But we're staying with you because we would also like to have you help others who are listening at this current moment. What are some of the strengths that you have noted in this type of farming, and also the risks that poultry farmers, especially in the communal areas, encounter?
Mostly what gives me the strength or the strength is more on the demand from the customer or the consumer. When it comes to poultry products, a lot of people are demanding for it. They are showing interest. And when if we've been farming, like for example, I'm doing egg production, everyone is very happy. Where are the eggs? Where are the eggs? You want to motivate to keep going and able to do that. On the rate, apart from the increasing price of feed, also accessing of market. You can have a lot of, can produce 10,000 eggs, but if you don't have a reliable market or stable market where you can able to sell your product, it becomes also difficult for farmers. Also accessing funds for one to expand further. Or you cannot only depending on egg products, you want to go for broiler, you want to go for maybe produce chicks for breeding and other. It's also very difficult. Some requirements that are needed, you might not qualify to help.
Yeah. Mr. Shikweda, in this current state where you find yourself in, besides the scheme and the subsidies, do you feel that there is more that maybe from your experience that the Ministry of Agriculture should or could do? And if yes, what are some examples of those elements?
Excuse me, I didn't get your question. What?
Now, the question was, in the current state and experience where you find yourself now, away from the subsidy that you have applied for, excluding that particular subsidy that you have applied for, do you believe that there is more that the Ministry of Agriculture could do? And if yes, what are some of those examples that you would want to see the Ministry of Agriculture doing for the poultry industry, especially at small scale and medium scale poultry farmers?
Okay, the big one for me to be on feed. If we know we only, most of the farmers only buy feed from that are processed through feed markets. So they use raw materials that they brought in from different countries. And with the ministry, you know, the ministry is the one running our grain skills project. What if the ministry comes up with a program of where they give plots or areas where farmers is able to produce their raw products that have been used to produce feed, and they is able to have our own material such as yellow maize that we can plant in our grain fields, soya beans and sunflower that we can use to make feed for that are locally produced that will reduce the feed price.
Okay. Okay. Now, thank you, Mr. Shikweda. I think I would also like to extend that particular question to Ms. Shimi and especially Mr. Thiemo, taking into consideration what Mr. Shikweda just stated now. Mr. Thiemo, we start with you.
Yes, in cognizance of the concern that the ministry needs to do more, but as I've mentioned earlier, HASIADEB is an integrated project. There are many value chains that we want to develop, increasing, developing the value chain for cereal productions. So this one, it's coming.
Okay.
It's in the process. So where we have identified few cereal crops that we need to develop so that our farmers can be able to produce, whether for human consumption or for livestock production. So there are programs that are coming. So it's just depending on when the funds are available for us to start implementing this, the schemes.
Okay.
Of course, we know the green schemes. They are under now. We are in the process of going into public-private partnerships. So where we can see now how the operations will be done, but under the green schemes, there is provision that land should be made available for feed production.
Okay.
And also, we know at our research stations there are some crops, especially the ingredients that are needed for feed production. For instance, soya. It's not produced in Namibia. It's mostly imported. So I know at our research stations, for example, Menhim, they are carrying out research on soya production to see what kind of varieties that can be produced here in Namibia that will enable at least to assist our farmers to start formulating their own feed.
Okay.
So there are programs that are coming up, or schemes that are coming out.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. And what I'm also hearing at the same time, I'm hearing training, I'm hearing internship, I'm hearing capacity building, I'm hearing job creation in all of what you're stating right now. I hope that hope or hearing is not misplaced. Ms. Shimi, as we wrap up, what additional comments would you like to give to this particular topic, and especially to those that are currently in the industry?
Yes, perhaps it's just to strongly indicate that, as my colleague have rightfully said, they are busy. The Ministry of Industrialization, on the other hand, or in support, is also ready to provide that support, as I have indicated before, where the industry, definitely the poultry industry, there is a lot of appetite. It is upcoming. There's a lot of activities. And from our side, in terms of policy, we are busy ensuring that we have the right policy in place to support the industry as it comes up. So this is just to say, yes, we are working together as a government to support the industry, as it has already indicated and shown that there is appetite to grow the industry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Themo, any last words you'd like to add to that?
The last word is I just want to encourage small-scale producers to search for information. The information and the schemes and the products are out there that are to assist them improve their production. Yeah. So they just need to find time, visit our offices, engage our technicians, our officers on the ground, get this information. The programs are there to assist you. They are not for us. We are not developing them for us. Of course, for us, we want to ensure that there is food security in the country, but it always starts with them.
Okay. Mr. Shweda, any last words in cognizance of what Mr. Themo also just mentioned now? What would you like to say?
Yeah, from my side, it's very nice that the government is coming up with those projects to help the farmers, which is very good initiative from the government side. Only that it need to be taken to the farmers to know what really the government is offering from their side. So anyway, the good program that we don't need to submit lot of quotations, only require one quotation from the product you need, then you submit it to the government. We hope the process for giving the product or approving will not take long, for the farmer is waiting and people are poultry or chicken are dying.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you very much, Mr. Chikweda, for gracing us with your presence on our show. It's always good to know and find or hear this information firsthand from somebody who is actually working within that particular industry. Mr. Thiem or Mr. Chikweda now mentioned something that I hope the ministry is taking strongly into consideration, the turnaround time for application forms. Because he mentioned something very important, that he really hopes that the process doesn't, what do they call it? The approval process, or after you submit the application, doesn't take too long, because you might find yourself that you are now crippled while you're waiting, to the point where the little that you did have now perishes.
May I clarify?
Yes, please.
For To benefit from the subsidy, actually the process was not supposed to be too long.
Yeah.
All you need is just, you set up your needs, you go to the office, they do for you your calculations,
Yeah.
how much you need to contribute as part of your subsidy.
Mm-hmm.
So with everything being in place, perfect system,
Yeah.
it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks
Okay.
for you to get your
approval or
or
disapproval.
your inputs that you have requested.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a loan, it's just a subsidy.
It's just a subsidy.
Yeah, we don't really have a lot of requirements or documentations that we need to do.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. No, it's good to know that something is being done to assist our farmers out there, and as Mr. Themo stated, they can develop the programs and the schemes and the projects, but it is up to us as the individuals on the ground who needs this assistance to make sure that we approach the necessary officers in order to inquire and also submit our application for us to benefit from these developmental projects and programs. With that said, we have come to the end of our show this afternoon. I would like to thank our panelists, both telephonically and those in studio, for availing themselves for us to be able to bring this information to you. So thank you very much for being part of the program this afternoon. From myself, Shianwa Desire Kahiha, along with my production crew, thank you and bye-bye.